Hello and welcome everybody. Welcome to our birthday. Hey, it's our birthday. 2 years ago in March, we had our first cyber meetup, and it's our 2-year anniversary or birthday. No, anniversary is, no, it's birthday. Let's say birthday. And to celebrate this birthday, we have a dedicated birthday menu, like you have at birthdays in Estonia, where you have potato salad and like these pigs in blanket sort of like pastries, and cake. Cake obviously is birthday, so we have a birthday menu for you today. We are very happy that we've gotten to this sort of like a little milestone of 2 years of doing this cyber meetups, and it's gone really great. I mean, like, we love it. You know, just look at this place. Like, people from all around the world are actually coming in here and looking very you know, different from each other and all friendly and stuff. So. We are very glad that this has been going on, and we're very glad that we've actually gotten this, you know, funding that we can continue with this for a couple of years more, and everything's like going our way, right? So today, we'll just celebrate a 2-year anniversary and worry about next time's or our challenges a little bit later. We have a great lineup for you today. We have people from all over the world, but we're going to start very locally. Our local Estonian company called CybExer is going to tell you about a project that they are doing. Then this is also something that we've done like every year. We've talked about like this locked shields. Most of you know what that is. If you don't, you'll find out today. But what's going on the locked shields cyber exercise this time? Then we have 𝗥𝗶𝗆 coming from the Palo networks. Still not too much connection to the Palo Alto name here, but still, you know, it's something that is obviously every time a question. And then finally, 𝗤𝗵𝗆 comes from Singapore to tell us a little bit about like what cybersecurity is like in Singapore. What's the threat landscape like? What is it that they are challenged with, and so on. We do have a packed schedule, and so let's see if we can find some way to get like some questions in or not. But let's kick it off with Rain. Rain, come on up here. Oh yeah, I forgot. This is a birthday thing as well, right? Okay. And so Rain, come on up. And let's kick it off with you. There's a clicker, and there's some slides, and tell us about this project of yours.
Sure. Thank you, Lauri. So even though it's been 2 years running this event, for me it's the first time, and awesome to be here to see so many faces, some familiar, some not. But let's hop into the topic that I'll be discussing here. A little bit about smart cities, more about visualizing, new way to visualize on the cyber exercises. And so for a context, where I'm coming from, I'm working in a company called CybExer Technologies, and our bread and butter is selling, developing cyber ranges, the content on top of it, and also conducting the cyber exercises all across the world. So if you don't know what the cyber exercise is, I think you will find out in the next presentation. So the name of this research project that we did, it ran for about approximately 2 years. We finished it last December. The name was Applied Research on Cybersecurity of Smart City Mobility Solutions based on Cyber Range Technology. But in simpler terms, if we split it up into four different phases, and in high level, it meant that we analyzed the overall smart city ecosystem. what's it all about, how do the players in this segment actually operate, how do the cities themselves see this smart city space, and how do they operate these technologies. So in the first phase, we partnered with the city of Tartu in Estonia that's doing quite a lot of smart city and smart mobility things, and it provides us a lot of insight into the actual stuff, what is happening. So maybe some of the key things out of it is that in many cases, the smart city systems and the smart mobility systems, they are like a black box solutions for the actual clients who are the cities. So if we ask them about like, how do you operate these? What is the infrastructure behind it? How do you manage the cybersecurity aspects of it? Then they will usually say that, well, we don't actually know because the border to these solutions are here and we don't know what is happening behind those. So all the data stuff, who is owning the data, how it's being managed, it's a little bit gray area. For the next two phases, we partnered with one of the Estonian teleoperation companies and with the University of Tartu. And with this one, we built a teleoperation simulator to the cyber range so we can play out various scenarios against the teleoperation network architecture. Too bad they didn't actually give us the vehicle that we could play around, so having the simulator helped us to modify parameters, play around, test out different attacks. And also the research part, the University of Tartu conducted quite extensive research out of it as well. But in this one, I'm not going to go more detail into the other research parts. I'm going to talk about this visualization layer that we built with this project to actually put more insight into the dependencies of various systems in the cyber exercise. It's a bit tricky to visualize the scope of one attack, especially around the smart city environment where the actual effect of an attack can be more than the effect on the systems themselves. So for context, this is the visualization layer that was built. It's the city map of Kiev. We have pulled the 3D visualization data out of open source resources, and we can actually show the cyber exercise progress on top of it. So why do we need this solution? So first of all, like mentioned before, like understanding the interdependencies. In our case, we have, I always like to bring this scenario into the context, is that we have the simulated power grid on our cyber exercises where the red team is going to attack it, and the goal of the red team is to turn off the power from the whole power grid with all the substations. So like the normal way to visualize this is like in system monitoring, you have like availability data like online, offline, etc. And even though this power grid is like very critical system, it's one of like 50 other systems. And if you look at this normal visualization layer with 50 boxes and one box turns red, it doesn't actually provide you any criticality of this system. So by visualizing it on this layer, it helps the decision makers to actually put more emphasis into that element. Also improved visualizations, obviously, in terms of visualizing. One is the dependencies, other is the availability. What's the status of this specific system? Is it currently under attack? Is it offline? Is it online? Is it working normally? One event that we did was we used this for a CTF competition, and we gave the players a scenario that one whole city is being hacked, and we added different utilities in the city, power grid, water, mobile networks, and we made challenges for the participants that you need to hack into the systems, pen test them, understand how attackers breach the system, and when they did, they could turn on these utilities. And by doing it, initially when the map is red, the area started going green, and by comparing the status of different teams, it's very easy to understand how they are doing actually. And the next part, resilience planning. So like mentioned with decision makers and with the cities, they like to play through different crisis simulations to understand how their city is supposed to start working on towards some events that are happening. So we have not currently implemented it to this scenario, but there is a possibility to simulate various crisis situations, either in a city, in a country, or in some larger areas. As the bunch of people here are quite technical, so how we did it and why we chose some of the things that we did. So we started out by choosing the technology behind it. We had quite many options initially on the deck. We looked into Unity, we looked into Unreal Engine, some others as well, but the complication of those, it's very heavy to run. And one of the key elements was that it has to be easily runnable. We have tested out something similar for one client in 2019, and that required to run this visualization quite beefy gaming laptop. So each TV that ran this had to have dedicated like €2,000 gaming laptop. So that doesn't make sense. But now we built it into WebGL using Babylon JS, and most of the modern laptops can run these visuals very easily. I have the demo later on that I recorded on my MacBook, and you can notice it's running quite well. We took the path of using open source and free tools, as a lot of things in the 3D world, they cost a lot of money, and if we want to have multiple people developing these 3D objects, we don't want to pay like multiple thousands of euros per year for the developers. Also, the data itself is quite critical, so we pull the geolocation data with the 3D elements mostly from the public resources that are quite easily licensed. OpenStreetMaps is one of them. And as the tools were mentioned, Blender is being used to parse this data, modify it. We can add additional animations. We can add additional 3D objects to the city that are not actually located in specific spaces. We looked into Autodesk Maya also. A lot of things were simpler to script it, but it's also, again, very, very, very expensive. So here we have the demonstration. So like mentioned, so these are all the GameNet systems that we have deployed to the cyber exercise, 54 of them. And here we have the HMI for the power grid that is under attack by the red team. So if this box changes, it doesn't provide you any criticality. But if we go into the smart city view, as you notice, the little beta tag here, take this into account. We can see how it's being visualized on this geospatial layer. This city map is based on Abu Dhabi, and the status of the exercise is currently in somewhere about in the midpoint of the exercise. So some of the systems are totally operating normally. Some of them are under attack that are flashing. The red ones either offline or compromised. And we have some animations here as well. If you have been in Abu Dhabi, then you might know that the airport is not located in this exact location. So we take the freedom of actually modifying the 3D data to make sense of visualization. So we move them closer to the city, so not to have a large area. Here the power grid was chosen. You can see the dependencies for the power grid. So if this is mapped to the actual virtual machine of the HMI, we can map that, okay, these all areas are the dependencies of this virtual machine. And we can replicate it on the interface. All the animations also. Now the demo will flip through many of the maps that we have created. This was the first proof of concept that we did, the map of Baltimore. But for just information that creating additional maps, it's a quite simple process for us. So if there's a client that wants to have their own specific area to the cyber exercise, I guess we can do it in a day. If we want to do more relaxed, in a couple of days. Here, to note out that there are also plans of red team versus red team, so we can provide each red team an area of their own so that they can start attacking each other's utilities, and we can visualize who is doing what. Something about the engine itself, so it's not a mapping engine as such, like a Google Maps, that we are limited to using maps. It's a 3D engine. So in this one, we can actually take in any 3D object. So if we have a 3D mapping of a factory, or we have all the animations on it, so we can pull in the factory. I have browsed the web, so approximately 200 euros, you can get the full model of factory lines. We buy those files, push it in, make the animations, and if we map it to the cyber scenarios, we can actually visualize what happens if we hack some PLCs in the factory. And one of the largest maps, London, so here's about the performance running on totally normal MacBook, nothing very beefy on that machine. So I think I'm getting to the end of my time slot. So if you have any questions, I think I might have time for one.
Right. Thank you very much. Obviously, like you might have time for one. Let's get one.
Question: any plans for you to adopt this for other uses than the cyber exercises? I mean, to visualize for boardrooms and other uses, essentially, of the states of government organization of their actual IT assets. I mean, in terms of vulnerabilities, in terms of attacks, and so on, also could be a good use.
Yeah, very good question. And to be honest, I hear a similar question quite often when presenting this system. So this, especially for the people working with various systems and monitoring, this is the thing that comes into the mind. And we have discussed it internally to pivot to other visualizations as well. It's not on the roadmap in near future, but it might happen.
All right. Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So let's continue. If you still see him afterwards, then, you know, like, ask him questions. If not, then you missed your spot. So we're going to continue with exercises like Ryan said, if you don't know what exercises are, then Commander Jack is going to come and, is this how people call you, Commander Jack? Oh, okay. So, right. Come on in here. Here's a hat if you want. Perfect. For a birthday.
Happy birthday.
And you got it?
Now you're going to remember this talk.
Right.
Okay. Hey, good evening, everyone. Like Lowry said, my name is Commander Jack. I'm just kidding. Just call me Jack. I am the United States representative to the Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence here in Tallinn, Estonia. So, before we get started, can I get a show of hands? Who knows what that is? Oh, great. And who knows what 𝗏𝗏𝗃 is? Great. Okay, I'm just going to start drinking then. No, I'm just kidding. Hey, so I am the rep for, again, I am the United States rep at the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence. For those of you who might not know what the details of what that is, let me just explain it really fast. There are lots of American soldiers located in and around Estonia. They're still here. They still have all their weapons, and they're still here with the same mission that they had a while back. Nothing has changed. What I do at CCDCOE is not what they do. We run courses, we run exercises, we provide training, and we do doctrine. We are not operational. So we focus on things like lock shields, cross swords. We put out a whole bunch of manuals that you guys may or may not want to read one day if you're extremely bored. There are a lot of centers of excellence all around the North America and Europe. I will say the Estonian one here, the NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense one, is by far the largest with 39 different nations. Not all of them are the same. They focus on a whole slew of things: maritime security, counter IEDs, counterintelligence, cold weather warfare. But believe me, everyone wants to learn about cybersecurity, so we have an extremely diverse group here from all over the world. And it's really great seeing how we all learn from each other and we all take things from different perspectives. If you guys are interested later, come talk to me. If you're studying or if you're doing some kind of research and you want to collaborate with us, I can't promise you we'll support you, but we can at least hear you out, and we do have opportunities to do joint research with individuals around the world. All right, and of course, we are a NATO Cooperative Cyber Defense Center of Excellence, but we do have people from around the world, like I just said. We have colleagues from Japan, South Korea, Australia, Ukraine, North America, Canada, US, all over. So if you're curious, we're all there. All right, so the world of 𝗧𝗪. A lot of you guys should know this already, so I'll kind of glaze over what the basic stuff is, and we'll go into what's different this year and what could be cooler. So 𝗧𝗪, of course, takes place in a fictional version of our world because we don't like to offend people still these days. We have a peaceful nation of 𝗵𝗂. You can see down here within the red circle. That's the target. And then there is a evil nation of 𝗥𝗶𝗀 down to the south that has invaded this red portion of the good guy nation, has occupied it, and they've been fighting back and forth for many years. Of course, we are a cyber center of excellence, so we focus on the cyber part of it, but there is a notional kinetic warfare session that's happening around too. Of course, we have all this because even though we are focused on cyber war, should it ever really happen, will not happen in a vacuum. It will happen in the context of a larger war, people dying by more direct and more traditional means, be information warfare, as we can see with social media around these days. So we found that, you know, if you want to practice how you fight, if you want to practice what happens, or you want to practice how you defend, you have to be able to give everything context. Otherwise, no one has any idea why you're doing what you do. And some things that might work in certain contexts won't work in others. And so when you have the people in charge, they have to be making decisions based on what's going on around them. Any questions so far? Okay. Also, guys, I grew up speaking English. A lot of my colleagues, those guys over there, all tell me I speak really, really fast. So if I am somebody say something, I promise you I've heard it enough times, it will not bother me. All right. So what's so special about 𝗧𝗪? It is the world's largest live fire exercise. What does that mean? Well, a lot of you guys probably do capture the flags or more traditional scripted exercises. I know in certain organizations, if you do an exercise and the guy with the highest ranking officer in charge gets embarrassed because his guys suck or don't perform very well, that's egg on your face, and you really, really don't want that to happen. Therefore, you structure things so nobody gets offended. That's not the case in 𝗧𝗪. We have a very, very good team of hackers led by an Estonian company, and they do not hold back. In fact, the leader of the red team gets up at the end of every exercise day. He tells all the defenders, all the blue teamers, this is what I did, this is how it worked, and oh, by the way, this is how I'm going to build on that tomorrow. And despite telling them exactly what he's going to do, he still gets through, his team still gets through the next day. It is realistic, it is complicated, and the feedback I get from the American team, because I talk to them the most, it's the most worthwhile exercise in the world. I get people coming up from the depths of US Cyber Command and big private industry in America telling me how good this exercise is, and it really puts Estonia on the map in terms of cyber. So you guys should be happy about that. And of course, for an exercise like 𝗧𝗪, it is focused on whole of government defense of critical infrastructure, so it's for everybody. Like private industry, academia, military, civil government, everyone's there, everyone's participating, everyone's learning from each other. What happens in 𝗧𝗪? I'm sure everyone here that knows what CCDCOE is and what 𝗧𝗪 is also knows what CR14 is. We take systems, most of them from vendors, reputable companies you've heard of. They'll give us versions of their systems. We virtualize them, host them on CR14, and we have individual copies of them for each one of our teams, and they are attacked and defended by red and blue teams. And these are some of the things we have up there. You can see they're quite diverse. They're from lots of different industries, and so, again, it gives a lot of people cool exposure to a lot of systems that they wouldn't otherwise see. So, like I said earlier, cyber war, or any war for that matter, doesn't happen in a vacuum. I don't know who here has been through military training besides those guys, but there's one thing when you're running around a field with a broomstick yelling bang bang, and there's another thing when you're carrying a fake flag, someone else is carrying a fake flag, it becomes like a really, really energetic football match, and everything gets so much better. So that's why we have the scenario, and that also led us into the creation of the strategic game. So in the technical game, hope everything's okay. That might be the prince. Was that? Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Oh. Hi, Harry. Wait, Harry, right? Yeah. Will or Harry? I always get them mixed up. All right. So we have the strategy game. So say in the technical game, we have a banking system, right? A banking system, in case you don't know, you haven't noticed, we don't have to carry millions of dollars or whatever around in cash when we want to buy a house or do something cool. We transfer everything electronically, and of course, that means it can be hacked and taken down. In a technical game, while we'll be fighting over a banking system or a clearinghouse system or something, we will also be talking about it in the strategy game. We'll be saying something like, okay, the banking system in your country just went down. How does your country respond? Is there a plan? Do you have enough cash on hand? Is there anybody in your government that's in charge when something like this happens? Does everybody else in the government know that one person's in charge? For some countries, they just shrug their shoulders and say, yeah, of course. Other times, we get really awkward looks and people looking away from us, and then hopefully, they go back to their countries, start a working group, or write some laws or regulations, or write a plan. So that is the strategy game. Again, not very cyber, but still very, very important in giving the context of why we practice what we do. We also have the strategic communications game, led by one of our local professors here. What's really cool is we have a system now. It simulates Instagram, Facebook, news sites, email, Twitter, and whatnot. It doesn't simulate Snapchat. It doesn't simulate TikTok, which probably tells you how old the programmers were. But as systems go up and down in the technical game, there is a context, once again. And as we've seen so far in the real world, people who do cyber attacks seem to be sitting in the cubicles next to people who do information warfare, who spread false information, and who try to attack the will of free countries or whoever they're attacking. And so we brought this context as well. We have blue teams, the defenders, who will be trying to put out good information about what's going on to reassure their simulated populations in their simulated social networks, while the simulated bad guys conduct simulated propaganda campaigns. It's the best we can do. It's complicated. We're making it bigger, better, more complex every year, and it's really cool. We have an AI-powered version this year, and we're going to see how it works. And last but not least, are there any lawyers in here? Okay, guys, we were almost clean. So once again, everything happens in a context, and of course, lawyers are involved everywhere. So while we have the technical game and the policy game and the communications game going on, we also have the legal game, right? If you're going after someone who's hacking into your systems and you go after them by disabling a communications node that in turn is going to put a hospital into a blackout, is that okay? What if that hospital has a neonatal maternity ward taking care of premature babies? Is that okay? I mean, it might seem okay when you don't see those people, it's just numbers on a screen. But after the war is all said and done, when you have to answer for everything you did, because we are still countries that are run by laws, you better be sure that you did everything right, not only by your own conscience, but by the laws that govern warfare. And so this is something else that most of us who aren't lawyers hate talking about, but is really, really important in terms of cyber conflict. And so that is another aspect of 𝗧𝗏𝗄𝐺, excuse me. 𝗧𝗏𝗄𝐺 by the numbers, it is by far the largest live-fire cyber exercise in the world, 4,000 people. We don't airdrop all of them onto Tallinn. That's what ACDC is going to do in July. Instead, we run the game out of Tallinn, out of the Hilton here, and people dial in from around the world. Again, 4,000 people from literally all over the globe dialing into a servers here to play this game. What we also do is make every country play on a team with more than one country, so we force people from around the world to work together, to learn how each other operate, and hopefully learn tactics, techniques, and procedures, and gain experience from working from people around the world, and so we all learn that we're all on the same team. Any questions for me? Great. And that is about the end of my presentation. So you guys just heard me say, in addition to the technical game, we have a policy game, we have a legal game, we have an information operations game. If any of this sounds interesting to you, please come find me or my colleagues afterwards, take the QR code. It's going to go to my colleague Dan, whose permission I got to put his email up there, or his functional email up there. We will happily listen to you. I can't promise we're going to take you on board or have you be part of our exercise, but we're always looking for ideas, we're always innovating, and we're always trying to make it better to keep things on the map. So thank you for your time, everyone. If you've got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
So obviously, since you didn't have any questions right now, then just, find these guys later on. There is one.
That's all cool, but how you're preparing for unexpected? I mean, Mars attacks Earth. I mean, do you have these crazy scenarios as well?
we don't have a scenario for Mars attacking Earth. But we can add that to the list, right, guys? No, hey, so glad you brought that up. We have a very diverse team from all around the world, like thinking about things. It is a bit of a surprise game, so I can't talk about specifically all the twists and turns that we have. I guess I can say we don't have a scenario where Mars attacks, but we're constantly looking ahead. We've got a lot of people with big brains, and we put a lot of those into the scenario, and expect the unexpected, as you would.
All right, thank you very much. Give another round of applause. Thank you. Right. So I've been a part of a couple of Estonian blue teams in this 𝗥𝗶𝗄𝗃 experience, and these are great. I mean, I don't see any other place where you could learn as much about teamwork, as much about what other people do in cybersecurity than when you are part of this sort of a team where everybody else, you theoretically know what they do, but then you find out during these couple of days what they practically do in those teams. So probably this year's exercise is probably the blue teams are already set. Yeah, try to find a way. I totally recommend finding a way to actually participate in any capacity. I don't know, bring pizzas to these people. You'll learn through that as well. So, but we're going to continue here. We still have two great speakers for you. First up, next up, Jesper, come on up here. Tell us about what you do at Palo Alto and what is it that you want to tell these great people in Estonia today?
Fantastic. Thank you. So I'm usually the one being told to hit the brakes, but I can see why you get told that, Jack. I will try not to do as much speed talking. I still will. So I'm 𝗍𝗵𝗶. I'm Chief Security Officer in Palo Alto Networks, one of the global cybersecurity leaders. And that means I have the honor and privilege to work with a lot of great companies, military organizations, governments across the world, and a lot of large enterprises. And one of the things that I often do is share a bit of adversary insights. So what is it that we see threat actors actually do? And that's what I bring to you today as well. So from training and exercises into what are we actually seeing in the wild right now. You see the Global Incident Response Report that was recently released by our Unit 42 threat research team. So it's downloadable. I have the QR codes in there as well. Free resource available for everybody. But let me dive into it. I think everybody here knows that attackers are getting more innovative right now. They are increasing their game in terms of speed. They're increasing in terms of scalability. And they use all of the modern technologies, right? One of the benefits of being on the cybercrime side is you don't have to go through bureaucratic processes to get, budget approvals, to get technology changes approval. You just do, right? That gives them an edge when it comes to modern technology, like AI solutions as well. If you couple that with a great level of deep knowledge, deep expertise in all of the areas where they find opportunities. Right now, they're investing heavily in cloud expertise. Maybe that's a tie to some of our organizations as well. If you are leveraging cloud resources, maybe invest a bit on the expertise level as well in that area. So in the report, we analyzed 500 incidents. We do about 1,200 to 1,400 incidents per year as initial incident responders in the Unit 42 team. That's a lot of insights. Every year we try to gather all that insights. This year it was out of 500 incidents and we analyzed. In 500 incidents, 86% of the attacks had a direct business impact, either from a disruption or financial impact. 86% of the attacks. That's a pretty big number. And I will increase that a bit. Over the course of 4 years, touching on speed, we see attackers have grown 250% in speed. That means that what you would see as the average from a compromise to a data exfiltration a couple of years back is nothing compared today. In 2021, the average was about 44 days. In 2022, that number went down to somewhere in the 20s, 20 days. Then it went down to 9 days. last year around 1 day. What we're seeing right now in close to 1/5 of the incident is exfiltration happened after compromise in less than an hour. From compromise to data exfiltration in less than an hour. How many in here knows how to detect, contain, isolate, whatever you need to do within 1 hour? Anywhere in your infrastructure, right? Most organizations do not have those capabilities today. That's a significant advantage for the attackers. So I'll give you an example of this. There's an attack group that we call Model Libra. You might have heard of it. We have a blog on it as well. But this is an actual scenario not that long ago where we did the full analysis. An organization where they were targeted in the help desk. So an individual employee in a help desk was targeted through generative AI powered phishing. So social engineer attack. Very traditional, but empowered by AI, of course. So the social engineering attack happened. The attackers were able to get some domain credentials. They were able to elevate their privileges. Very traditional approach here, actually. There's nothing new into this process. For those of you in the back, they went from adding additional domain credentials, then they created virtual machines in the infrastructure. They moved in the AWS, so cloud infrastructure. They moved further on, did mounts of their own virtual drives, as well as new virtual drives that they created for the data exfiltration purposes. They ran scripts to inject into the data sets and databases so they could manipulate data, pertain the access, and also exfiltrate the data. But not just any data. They did a very thorough analysis of which data is accessed the most by the most users. So they knew what data was going to be the most valuable and most disruptive to the organization, and then they exfiltrated. So this is how they operate, right? The interesting thing here is, in this case, they reached their objective in 40 minutes. 40. 40 minutes from social engineering a help desk employee to doing all of that. The help desk didn't even know that happened before the security team sounded the alarm. So in the wild right now, we see it more and more often. And when we look at AI, I often get the question, so what are the attackers doing with AI? I mean, how far are they actually? Well, kicker, they're quite far, much further than we are, right? They use it for attack generation, meaning that they will actually develop their resources and create the scripts for running infrastructure as code, for instance, through generative AI. Super quick for them, optimizable all the time. They continue to learn, continue to improve, while we're still doing what we've been doing for probably 20, 25, 30 years. That's a challenge for us. If you couple that with the attack acceleration that they're doing, so scaling up as well, from a speed perspective is one thing, becoming faster and faster to adapt and adjust, but also scaling, so being able to touch even more organizations at the same time. I usually compare this to cybercrime activities 5 to 7 years ago. They picked out 5 to 10 organizations that they were going to be the next target. They prioritized them based on what is the potential financial value of this attack or how easy it was to attack them, and then they went after them. Today, they find 5 to 10 most compromised software solutions that is most exposed on the internet. That can mean anywhere from 100 organizations to tens of thousands of organizations. So that grows in scale as well. Oh, and sorry, that of course, those two elements obviously lead to an increased likelihood of success for the attackers. Moving onward, and just to give you a bit of more stats, working for a cybersecurity company, one thing we do know how to do is throw stats at you so you get numb. But this is interesting from a statistic perspective as well. Software vulnerabilities have for the past 2 years been the main vector for the cybercrime gangs out there. That has changed this year. Now we're seeing phishing coming up again, because we've leaned back on the ways we train and how we teach our people about these new phishing techniques that comes from AI solutions, deepfake, whatever it might be, but also because we're still stuck in the old ways of thinking. So we think it's enough of doing cyber exercises once a year. It's not. It has to be continuous training, right? And if I take that level of expertise into consideration as well, I'm just going to read out a few examples here. Some of the attackers are now focusing on how do they scan the fastest, the easiest, the non-detectable way of finding identity and access keys in the environment variables. How do they do the calls to specific cloud APIs? How can they manipulate those as well? How can they use cloud roles and policies and manipulate those so the organization don't realize that they're already in the system? How can they automate how they create new instances and adjust the infrastructure so you don't see that they move around in the infrastructure? You might have visibility on your known assets. What about your unknown assets, right? And they develop the cloud-specific tools as well. They use cloud storage objects as much as they delete them when they're done. They're getting pretty good at doing their cleaning jobs as well, which makes it a challenge for us. In the old days, it was hunting in the logs for the good hackers, and good hackers knew exactly which event IDs to delete and remove or overwrite. Today, they remove entire parts of the infrastructure just to make it hard to detect and figure out who it was. If you couple that again with the speed of attack, where they're actually able to create infrastructure components, scan for the data that they want access to, and how to get it out, they can do that in less than a minute today. So if you're not monitoring, be sure they are, right? That leads to the scale as well. We had a case where one attack group actually targeted 110,000 different domains. In one scanning, they found a lot of environmental variables in the coding of all of these websites that was exposed. More than 90,000 of them was something they could use. So the data gathering and the vulnerability search that they were doing was fully automated. And that led to around 7,000 cloud services was exposed to this attack group, and they could compromise all of them. Luckily, that was detected. Most of it was prevented, but not all of it. So, I'll give you the 3 things that contribute to the attacker's success, because this is typically what enterprises ask me as well. So yes, but what do we do wrong since they're so successful, since they're so good at getting in? Well, I say one thing is you have too much complexity. On average, out of those 500 incidents that we analyzed, there were 83 solutions from 29 different vendors. Imagine if you're the owner of the security operations responsibility and you have to figure out what's going on across 83 solutions from 29 different vendors. I used to be in one of the Maersk entities just after 𝗧𝗺𝗃. I joined to set a new global cybersecurity strategy and program. One of the elements there was I owned 2 SOC teams. 3 weeks in, we had the first incident. I told the SOC team, okay, give me the layout. What's happening? Give me a timeline. Tell me everything. And they were like, we don't know yet. I said, what do you mean you don't know yet? Well, we're still waiting for the data logs. Okay. So logs kept coming in. I received a ton of emails, everything from spreadsheets to text files to, And then he said, so here's the logs. I was like, oh, okay. What does that mean? What do I do with that? That's the result of complexity. You have no idea what you're looking at, why you're looking at it. Is it important? Is it not important? What should you do with it? And that was the reality in all of these enterprises as well. Too much complexity was introduced. And then they didn't have enough visibility. Right? Most organizations can probably look at that and say, yeah, we probably don't see everything. Maybe it's based on old documentation. We know there's an asset there, but we don't really know. We don't know if it's connected right now, but it's in the documentation, so we think it's there. Or we have absolutely no idea where that asset is. That happens too in many organizations. And the third element was too much trust. In any incident where there was a cloud element involved, 99% of the cloud accounts were over-permissioned. 99% had too much permission. Meaning enterprises definitely do not know what they're doing when they work with cloud. From a security angle, of course. They probably know from a business side. I find that interesting. So, very simple. Address complexity, visibility, and over-trust. That will significantly reduce the impact and lower the chance of attacks. But there are also a certain element of priorities. You're going to get the deck afterwards, right? But it's listed here. If I were any organization, public, private, enterprise, small, mid-sized, I don't care, any of them, I would focus on this. Zero trust adoption. I know it's a hype and a buzz thing, and it's easy for a cybersecurity vendor to say zero trust. Think about it this way. Eliminate implicit trust where you can. Challenge everything. Why is there a connection between these two systems? Who owns that connection and what does that entail? Do we give privileges to one system over the other, whatever that is? Zero trust. Question it. Number two, enhance your cloud and identity security. Simple, right? Insider threat monitoring is a thing again. A lot of cyber criminal groups are right now targeting individuals with hard-to-refuse offers. If you have a low-paid municipality worker that is offered $250,000 to click a link and then just afterwards walk out and claim you didn't know it was dangerous, that's hard to refuse for a lot of people. And they're good at that. Strengthen your detection and automate your responses. Humans are inconsistent and slow. I'm sorry, but that goes for me too. I'm very inconsistent and I'm super slow. But when it comes to cybersecurity objects, we gotta automate, we gotta be faster. And number 5, empower your security operations. Make sure they have everything they need, including mandate, to actually do something. But give them the visibility and the actionability to act. With that, 2 QR codes, you're gonna get the slides afterwards. At least that's possible. But here you can get the full view on that report. So everything that we found, the methodology, everything that's of interest in that incident response report on that one. And then the podcast from Unit 42, roughly 60 episodes is there. Go grab it. With that, thank you.
And a round of applause.
How was I on speed talking? Was it all right? Yeah.
That's speed. Good speed. Good speed. All right. Thank you very much. We're going to postpone questions because of some time questions, because we try to make it so that we don't, overextend, because people are thirsty, and then they are hungry, and they've come here not just to listen to people speak, but to also to speak themselves. But with that being said, we still have a very good presentation coming up from Singapore. Now we usually had this segment in our cyber meetups, which is the threat landscape, what's going on in cybersecurity. We already had a bit of this, and thank you for a bit of this. And we're going to get another view from Singapore. And they are, a small country, right? Right. So come on up here, Qiang, and take us through the what's going on in Singapore right now.
Right. Yeah, my name is Qiang. I come from the Singapore Government Technology Agency, and what we do is manufacture a bunch of digital products and platforms and services for the citizens. So while citizens see that we actually produce all this, they don't see actually the problems behind them very often, and hence I like to share some of these hard truths with the community here. And thanks again for RIA inviting us here and meeting the whole community here. It's about 1 a.m. in Singapore, so if I don't make any sense, just give me a sign or something. Just a little bit where we are. If you don't know where we are right at the south tip of the South China Sea, the tiny dot there. And if you compare the outline of Estonia, that's the relative size that we are. And if you transpose it here, then we are a tiny dot here as well. But I understand actually we are one of the only 3 remaining city-states in the world, and 2 of them are in Europe. So, we are just one tiny dot elsewhere in the world. But actually, we are not that different from Europe. So if you look at several of the characteristics that we share, we have an aging population just like Europe, and by the end of this decade, we're going to be like a quarter of above 65. I'll be just short of that. And secondly, we actually do advocate free trade. We have a bunch of free trade agreements across the world, just like for EU. And I think it is the basis for prosperity, we believe, and global stability. And not just good things. I think we do share some of the challenges. You look at 𝗕𝗏𝗄, actually, it hits us just a couple of hours after it hits Europe. So actually, many of these challenges that you face in Europe, we do have that in Singapore as well. Just to give a little background of why it is so important to us. Singapore has always been a tiny dot. It never grew very much, and we have a total lack of natural resources. All we had was the advantage of a geographical location right at the tip of the Malaya Peninsula, which serves as a trading post. And for many years, we continued to be that. And today, we see about 1,000 ships transiting our straits, and that's about 10 times more than all the ships that transit Panama Canal plus Suez Canal combined. And similar to the physical space, actually, we also see a convergence of digital space. We have about 26 undersea cables that converge into Singapore. I think that makes us about one of the top 5 cable landing sites in the world. And we expect this to double in the next 10 years. And it puts us at a rather challenging time where there's a lot of thought about security for undersea cables. Not only we're worried, I think many of our trading partners are worried as well. And actually, I just emphasize actually why is this critical? Because digital connectivity is the basis for our position as a global trading location in the world, and also serves as a business hub for Singapore. Just a little bit of statistics. It's too small to see at the lower right corner. We have about 7.7% of our enterprise in Singapore being foreign companies. But just that 7.7% actually brings in 68% of our total value add. So it's really critical for us to ensure stability and security for businesses that actually comes to Singapore. And we have anticipated this for the past 40 years. So in the early 80s, I think we've focused a lot on computerization. We have a computer board then just to start automation for our business processes. And as we enter the internet age, we start to see some of the e-services being essential for the functioning of governments and businesses. And hence, for the past 20 years or so, we have been focusing on delivering e-services. Today, we have more than 90% of our government services online. And hence, it becomes critically essential that there continue to be trust in our digital services. And if there's any service disruption, hijack identity, and any insecure systems that is seen out there, it immediately erodes the citizen trust in how the government functions in Singapore. And what is kind of a strange socially in Singapore is that we are actually one of the safest countries in the world physically, and many of our citizens had the illusion that it's equally safe online as well. So in the past, they used to trust everything that comes out through SMS, comes through email. And actually, that's the source of many of the scams and fraud. As late or as early as in 2013, actually, we start to see some of these attacks. It was only hacktivism and it was only defacement, but it kind of threw the government off balance at the time because there was the national press was attacked. Several of the government websites were defaced, including the Prime Minister's Office website. And even though we caught the hacker in the end, it kind of makes us aware that there's so much more to do in cybersecurity from then onwards. But it didn't just stop there. I think we have become quite a popular place for scams, and over the years, as you can see, the amount that's being involved in scams in Singapore has grown exponentially. And even just in January this year, the total scam loss is total loss due to scams is about 80 million, which is about $60 million. And what's alarming is that actually there are more and more cases of scams involving government identities and people faking as government officials, which actually even prompted our Prime Minister to have to put up his Facebook posting to remind everybody that it is not him that recommends some kind of investments, and don't click on things that shows his face because it's all deep fake. And it's real. So it is not just a criminal issue. It is not just a financial issue. It has become a social and political issue in Singapore. As you see, many of the elderly folks losing almost entire life savings to such incidents. And many of them were so convinced by the scams that the none of the enforcement agencies could stop them from actually paying out to the fraudsters at times, even if it's known ahead of time. These are some of the ways which the scammers have used in today. I think Jesper covered some of the phishing. It's come back alive and well. And we have what we call 𝗖𝗵𝗂, which is our national identity. And it doesn't just function as the identity for government service. It actually works for all banking systems as well. And hence, actually, there is a huge motivation for scammers to actually steal some of these credentials in order to steal some of the cash and money from the victims. It's only just early this year that we discovered, at the end of last year, that there was a very deliberate plan in some of the syndicates, and they found a vulnerability in actually the government processes. They could actually change somebody else's residential address by pretending to be a family member. And when the address is changed, they can actually prompt the 𝗖𝗵𝗂 change of password, sending a hard copy pin to the new address which they own. With that, they actually capture the credentials and they can use it for subsequent operations. So it was a very deliberate plan to look through all of government processes and find weaknesses. And to explain a little bit why it happened even from the start, it's because we have many elderlies and they may not be able to access some of the functions online. And we allowed it in order for the family members to actually process some of the changes on behalf of their family members. There was also a spate of malware being spread through site loading, and hence actually some of the victims do install malware APKs that appears to be like government applications, which are not, and that's how they can lose control of devices easily. That's not all. Actually, we have plenty of phishing websites out there, watering holes that look just like government websites, which is why it prompted us to have continuous monitoring out there on all the possible websites that look like us and are not ours, and we have to find ways to take them down. I think Jesper mentioned earlier that actually there's all AI enabled these days, and the rate has accelerated much faster in terms of how phishing campaigns can be waged these days. All of those actually accumulated to the fact that there is indeed a true erosion of trust in government services, because now nobody dares to pick up a phone that pretends to be government, and everybody doubts whether or not messages that come through SMS are real. And what it means is actually slows down some of the digitalization efforts that we're trying to embark on through this period. Therefore, we actually have a multi-agency effort against scams. We do have an application called ScamShows, which scans for some of the possible fake websites, the fake messages, and alert the recipients before they fall prey. We have a monitoring called 𝗵𝗰𝗇, which looks at all possible websites, and those that are similar to us are flagged out, and they will be blocked in Singapore. But actually, we can't do this on our own. And we are awfully mindful that we need the industry to work together with us in order to stop some of this crime that's going on. I've been spending some time on scams, phishing. Actually, that's not all. We have plenty of ransomware as well. And it's only last year that we have one of the law firms being attacked by a ransomware group, and that it might not be obvious here, but what's significant is that law firms actually own many privacy data of their customers, and which could include some of the government agencies as well, which then host citizens' data. And hence, the implication is always far-reaching whenever a private firm is being attacked, especially for ransomware. What this means is that actually we can expect that it's going to continue to grow. Business and jobs for cyber is going to grow as well, because we need more people doing cybersecurity. I just spent the last few slides on, I think, what most people are interested on in terms of state-sponsored attacks. I want to turning point, our what we call the 𝗵𝗶𝗴 moment for us, was in 2018, when state-linked actors actually attacked our healthcare system. And as we started investigating, we found that they are not just interested in all of our data, they're particularly interested in the Prime Minister's health records. So that was kind of a turning point for us, and there was a committee of inquiry which came out with 16 recommendations for the entire government. So it's, again, like the 2013 incidents, we found that there are a lot of room for improvement, and we had to actually revamp some things we do. Discovering this APT or this state-sponsored actor actually did not deter them, and we continue to see year after year state-sponsored attacks on Singapore and our government. And they have expanded many of their interests into critical infrastructure as well. So in recent time, you have known that actually they started attacking telecommunication providers as well. As the SOC for the whole of government in GovTech, we actually collect a lot of telemetry. And what it tells us is rather interesting. We do have people attacking us from all over the world, regular intervals, regular time. So we are quite glad that there's so much interest in Singapore, not in a good way, but in a bad way. But just like a trading hub, we are also a criminal and APT hub, I guess. Just a word on attribution. I think a lot of people tend to ask us, do we attribute? Actually, I have to start by explaining some of the Asian culture. I think in some places, when the attacker gets attributed, a certain sense of pride, I guess. But in Asia, it's a face-losing issue. And active attribution does not seem to always work in terms of deterrence. And in diplomacy, it's customary in Asia to have certain face-saving measures as well. So I think we always have to balance deterrence versus diplomacy, even in cyberspace. As we move more and more services in the government onto cloud, we are obviously mindful of the risk as well. Singapore is one of the main regions for almost all of the cloud service providers. And actually, we see that actually there's huge responsibility in making sure that cloud resilience is maintained for not just government, but for all businesses. And it's always challenging because, in fact, we see disruption in almost all cloud service providers as well over the years. I think in the past 10 or minutes or so, I've explained some of the issues that we have, and it's not just within within the tech or within the digital space. It affects us economically and politically as well, which is why we actually added a new pillar in digital defense in 2019, after almost 40 years with just 5 pillars. And we believe that we cannot do it on our own, and we need to collaborate with industry, with community like you, as well as with like-minded nations on the same mission for cybersecurity. That's all I have. I think, I hope I give a good glimpse of what we face in Singapore, not much unlike in Europe, and how it affects us in terms as a government, as a society.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Laurie.
Thank you so much. Just stay here for a little, one second. We'll ask for one question from the audience. Is that okay? Do you have a question? Just give one question and then.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. You mentioned about the 𝗖𝗵𝗴. As I understood, it's something like we have here, like ID card, but I didn't get how the scammers try to steal it. Is it a physical card? Is it a digital card? So how to steal it?
Yeah. So 𝗖𝗵𝗴 is actually an application on our phone, and it's an login credential that allows us to log into government services, all of them, as well as banking services which subscribe to this form of credentials. So and we do still have a way to log in through passwords, because we are still concerned that the elderly folks do not use fingerprinting, facial recognition, and so forth. So if you can capture some of the login credentials for the victims, you can actually access 𝗖𝗵𝗴 as an identity to attack all of the services that uses 𝗖𝗵𝗴. So it's not a real card, actually. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much. If you're going to stick around here, maybe you can, if you have more questions, you can find him and ask these questions directly. Thank you very much. One more round of applause. With this, we are done with the program for tonight. I mean, this was fascinating to see how, we're so similar yet so different in the completely other side of the world as well. But let's conclude this program part. Thank you everybody who's been watching us online, and everybody who, I don't know, didn't see the slides. You can watch us, like later on from online YouTube, still up there, and everybody can watch us again. Next Cyber Meetup is going to be in April, Thursday, April 17th. Be here, be online. If you want a separate notification, sign up on that email sheet right there. But with that being said, enjoy the potato salad, the cake, the pigs in blankets pastry thing. Happy birthday to all of us. Thank you and enjoy.